Session of Bulldoze Daily GK Current Affairs. So today is 28th of Feb 2022. So today we are going to cover a few very important topics of what had happened what had happened today. So the first one is SWIFT. So SWIFT is very much in news nowadays because of those sanctions and all, which the European Union slapped on Russia because of Russian aggression over Ukraine. So SWIFT was very much in news. So we'll discuss about SWIFT now. The next one is AMKA, Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. It's a 5th generation aircraft that is going to be launched by the Indian Indian government with the HAL, Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, and the collaboration with DRDO. So we're going to discuss about that. Next one is Rafael Nadal wins the Mexican Open. Then NATO is also very much in news since the conflict is going on between the Russian and Ukraine. Then is UNSC resolution on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So most of the news which we are going to do today is based on Russian-Ukraine crisis. So very important, and it's very important for a current affairs point of view, but as well as for the static point of view, because the history of Russian-Ukraine crisis is very much important. So first of all is SWIFT. So SWIFT is like a system. SWIFT is basically based on the banking system. Like you must have when you do any kind of a online payment, you must have seen the gateways ना, कि जिस gateways के through आपकी वो payments होती है, वैसे ही जैसे individual gateways होते हैं, है ना, जैसे हम when we used to do an online payment through our UPI and all, so there are individual gateways, जिस gateways के through आपकी वो payments होती हैं. In the same way, the SWIFT is a payment gateway of countries, the country to country transaction. When there is a country to country transaction, na, so SWIFT is that kind of a payment gateway. So it's like if there is a sanction, if the SWIFT sanction, then it is equivalent to like the country's internet has shut down. So it's a very important. It will definitely hurt Russia. So the European Union, US, UK, and its allies, that is of Japan, Australia, and all, have agreed to exclude a number of Russian banks from SWIFT, an international payment system used by thousands of the financial systems. So if these countries put sanction on Russia and put Russian into SWIFT system, ban on the SWIFT system, banking system, then what is going to happen? Its whole of the transaction will get stopped. Whatever they import or they export, it will get stopped. But yes, ultimately, if we say that it will only hurt Russia, no, it will not only hurt Russia, it will definitely hurt the European Union, because Europe is totally dependent on gas, the natural gas and the crude oil on Russian, dependent on Russians for that. So if definitely if they slap sanctions on Russia, it will hurt them also. It's a two-way problem. So the SWIFT system stands for So the SWIFT system stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, and is a secure platform for financial institutions to exchange information about global monetary transactions such as money transfers. So if definitely they got sanctions over this, it will hurt them. It will hurt their this exchange, this money exchange reserves. It will hurt their domestic exchange, and it will definitely hurt their imports and exports. So while SWIFT does not actually move money, it operates as a middleman. Like it's operate as a middleman to verify the information transaction. So I already told you it's a gateway. So providing secure financial messaging services to more than 11,000 banks in over 200 countries. So now you come to understand, now you realize how much SWIFT is important. So SWIFT is based in Belgium, and it is overseen by the central bank from 11 industrial countries like Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Sweden, Switzerland, United Kingdom, and United States besides the Belgium. Right. So what's the capital of Belgium? The capital of Belgium is Brussels. Capital of Belgium is Brussels. And how this problem is going on in European Union, it's worrisome. It's not only worrisome for Russia, it's worrisome for the European Union, it's worrisome for the Asian economy, and it's worrisome for the even the Indian economy. In coming days, you will definitely see rise in the domestic items. So next one is going next one we are going to discuss about the AMKA. So AMKA is indigenously developed advanced multi combat aircraft system, because India is now mainly focusing on indigenous weapons. So in the same way, we have already developed an aircraft called as Tejas. We all know about this beautiful aircraft, the Tejas. In the same way, we are going to make, and it is in the developmental process. The AMKA will going, and it will definitely going to play a very important role in Indian defense. So India and France are close to concluding a deal, likely in the next couple of months, for the joint development of 125 kiloknot engine for the indigenously 5th generation advanced medium combat aircraft under the development, right? So making up of an engine is very difficult job. There is a like for the Tejas, even for the Tejas, we don't have our own engine, right? We export engine from US. That's an engine from General Electric, sorry, US, GE. General Electric, we export that engine from General Electric. In the same way, for the AMKA, we need a high power engine. For the Tejas, it's a low power engine, because it's a small combat aircraft. In the same way, for this AMKA, we need a high power engine, because it's a dual engine aircraft. So this deal is going to be signed between India and France. And making up of an engine is it's not like making up of any a small thing. It's a very difficult job to do. We were already making up of our indigenous engine, which was known as Kaveri project. Kaveri project, it was a project launched by the Indian establishment to make an indigenous engine, basically for the Tejas. But this process was scrapped, and there are a lot of problem in this system. Like there are a lot of technical terms. There is a thrust problem, there is a weight problem and all. So that's why we prefer to export it from the US, because we need it on a urgent basis for the development of Tejas, because it was already delaying for last 30-35 years. The only reason behind why the Tejas project was delayed for the more than 30 years, it is because of the engine. So we don't want that the same thing happen with the AMKA. So that's why we collaborated with France for this engine. So the collaboration is between Defense Research and Development Organization (DRDO) and the French engine maker Safran. So the initial design of AMKA started way back in 2009 and is envisaged as a twin engine stealth aircraft, and it is a 5th generation. Like there are different generational aircrafts right now. Like Rafale is a 4.5 generation aircraft. So the 5th generation aircraft. What do you mean by stealth? Stealth means it is very much difficult for any radar to capture the movement of this aircraft. With internal weapons bay. Internal weapons bay means the weapon system, the missiles and all, it will not be in an open. Like जैसे हम normal aircrafts देखते हैं, तो normal aircrafts के नीचे आपको missile दिखेंगी. यहाँ पे you will not find that missile system and weapons beneath that aircraft. It will be inside that, right? Like which we have seen in B-52 bomber in of this United States and all. It is in the same way. So which has been developed for the first time, for which the design is complete as a report by the Hindu earlier, right? So design has been completed. So it needs a time, right? We need a time for that, because engine is very important component. Engine नहीं होगा तो भी जहाज चलेगा कैसे? Simple सी बात है. So we need that. So I personally feel it will take more than 10 years to develop this prototype of this aircraft. Prototype banega, then there is a testing phase and weapon testing and all. It is a long term game. So let's go further. So manufacturing and production of this aircraft is planned through the special purpose vehicle, which will also involve private industries, right? So without private industries, you say कि हमारी efficiency ज़्यादा है, हम जल्दी बना ले, that is not actually possible. So private industry is definitely the need of our. So next one is Rafael Nadal wins Mexican Open. right? Rafael Nadal, a very famous player. He belongs to which country? He's a Spanish. He belongs to Spain. So in tennis, Rafael Nadal beat British number 1 Cameron Norrie to win the singles title of Mexican Open 2022. It is also known as Acapulco Cup, Acapulco title. This is the 91st ATP title for his career and the third title of the season. So this is the fourth title that Rafael Nadal has won the Mexican Open. He first won in 2005, 2013 and 2020. So this was about the Rafael Nadal. So next one is NATO. So NATO is very much in news. So NATO was formed in 1949 after World War II. World War II ended in 1945. So NATO. So the main purpose of NATO was because when the World War II had ended, so the two bipolar powers were there, right? The two main powers. One was the United States of America. Second one was USSR, Russia. The USSR is a group of countries. So this after USA definitely don't want the rise of USSR, so they make a group that is called as NATO. The only purpose was to contain USSR. Now if you closely see the NATO is a group of, I would say, it's a capitalist group, and the USSR was a communist group. Obviously both these groups want to establish their economic ideology around the world, right, in most of the region of the world. In the same way, capitalists want to impose their ideology and the communists wants to impose their ideology. So in the end, after when the time passes and all, in 1991 finally USSR was broke down. The main reason was the economic problem. When the Russian fought in Afghanistan, when the Soviet Afghanistan war broke out, and Russians were defeated there, and there was a lot of economic problems, and this leads to disintegration of the USSR. So in 1991 USSR was disintegrated, and in 1994-95 ultimately the purpose of NATO was to contain USSR. But in 1991 the purpose was achieved, so I personally feel that there was no need to expand it more. Then in 1991 the USSR was disintegrated. It was divided into 15 countries, Russia and 15 countries. So it was divided into basically 15 countries. So obviously then in 1994 an agreement was signed between Gorbachev, the Russian president, and the United States External Affairs Minister. So they clearly say that NATO will not expand eastward even an inch, right? But ultimately what had happened, with the time passes, NATO continued to expand their sphere towards the east, towards the Russia, and Russians were very much concerned about their national security, because whenever any country becomes the member of NATO, so they become an alliance of a military, they become a group of a military alliance, right? So the NATO countries now will going to set their military bases in that particular country. They can establish their missiles and other things, and army and all. So Russians were very much concerned about that, because they don't want that US or NATO missile going to be set up at the doorsteps of the Russia. So this is a short story why this was the main reason behind the Ukraine and Russia crisis. And with the time, the countries like Latvia, Estonia, these countries become members. These were the initially USSR, the member of USSR, but after that they become NATO countries. So Russians don't want that, and ultimately, which I personally feel, Russians को लोग सारे blame कर रहे हैं कि that Russians were aggressor in this Ukraine war. But Ukraine also want to be a member of NATO, because Russians don't want that. Maybe there are some economic interest and the social interest as well, but the main interest was the national security. What the Putin is doing right now, what the Russians are doing right now, the only thing they are doing is to protect their country. They don't want that US and the NATO forces set their bases at their doorsteps. And any country, except Russia, कोई भी country except Russia के अलावा, they will do the same thing. So the Russian foreign minister spokesperson Maria Zakharov announced that if Sweden and Finland were to become a members of NATO, because Sweden and Finland is also an hostile nation towards Russia, so they again gave warning to Sweden and Finland that if they become a member of NATO, then they will definitely have a political and military repercussions, and they have to face the consequences. So I already told you the reason why Russians has problem with that. So along with Austria, Ireland, Cyprus and Malta, Finland and Sweden are the 2 EU states that are not member of NATO. So right now there are 30 members of NATO. 30 members of NATO, from where 28 are European and 2 is non-European. Who are these non-European? One is the United States of America and the second one is Canada. So that's 28 countries are European. So total there are 30 countries. So this is a concern for the Russians. So NATO, this is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also called as Northern Atlantic Alliance. This is an intergovernmental military alliance between 28 European countries and 2 non-European countries. This headquarters is at the Brussels. Brussels, I already told you, it's the capital country of Belgium, while the headquarters of the Allied Command Operation is near Mons, is in Belgium. So next one is UNSC resolution on Russian invasion of Ukraine. So I already told you, so many of you blames Russia and some of you blames Ukraine, but if we see the whole scenario, if we see the history, Russians की भी गलती है, because we cannot justify their aggression towards any country, right? कि कुछ भी हो तो आप उसके अटैक कर दो कि वहाँ के local population को problem हो. We also face very many problems. We also face parliament attack in India. We also face 26/11. We also face a lot of problem terrorist attack from Pakistan. But इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि we attack them. We focus on our development. We focus on our human resource. So कई बार, in the name of national security and in the name of international relations, geopolitics, we have to take tough stance, we have to take tough decisions. So we all know that right now the Russian economy is not performing very well. So they have to take some certain steps which is favorable for their own economy and for their people. But ultimately, if you say that Ukraine was correct, that is also not true. Ukraine was also not correct. They are pushed by the NATO forces and they provoke Russians. NATO provoke Russians through Ukraine. Ukraine is like a pawn in a chess. So this is the same problem. The Russia uses veto power. So right now in the UNSC, that is United Nations Security Council, there are 5 permanent members, right? So there are 5 permanent members. We all know about the 5 permanent members: US, Russia, China, UK and France. So any one of you, if any one of that country use that veto powers, that the whole resolution lapses. So blocks the United Nations Security Council resolution condemning its invasion of Ukraine and demanding an immediate withdrawal of its troops, right? तो मतलब अगर USA अटैक करे तो that is they are doing for the democracy. अगर Russian अटैक करे तो they are aggressor. So 11 out of 15 permanent members. So in those 11 members of India is also a part of that 15 permanent members of United Nations Security Council, and there are 3 countries who choose to abstain from voting. One is India, China and UAE. तो चौथी तो खुद रशिया होगी. तो all the 11 countries, they voted against Russia, including US, UK and France, voted in favor of the resolution. मतलब रशिया के against resolution के favor में. So while India, China and United Arab Emirates choose to abstain. So if you ask me personally, Indian stance on this particular issue is it is good stance. It has to be, this stance has to be there. That is a stance of non-alignment. So Indian Ambassador T.S. Trimurti, who was abstained, said that the dialogue is the only path of the forward, right? So the issue can only be resolved through talks, no matter how daunting it might seem, and urged the council to restore the difficult path forward. So these were the important news of what had happened today, 28th of February. So we'll meet same time, same place tomorrow. So till then, I'm signing off now. So before that, I would like you to please subscribe this channel, click the bell icon, so whenever we upload any video, you get the notification about that. So for further information, I would like you to please refer the links given in the description box. So we'll meet same time, same place tomorrow. Till then, I'm signing off now. Thank you.